Hello friends, welcome to Daily Editorial Enrichment program brought to you by La Excellence R&D team. Today we will discuss important articles that has been appeared in the newspaper The Hindu dated 21st December 2019. Moving on to the first article, in the page number 12 we have the virtual effacement of civil liberty. The judiciary needs to determine whether the executive has provided a reasoned order when it directs an internet ban. This is the subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of the design and implementation. It has been almost 7 years since the administration in Kashmir started banning internet services in Kashmir. It is for various reasons, and some of these shutdowns were for a shorter period while others lasted for 3 to even 6 months. In fact, the internet shutdown was enforced after the abrogation of Article 370 on August 4, 2019, and it is still in place. And now, the contradictions in the availability of digital liberties in India continue to be glaring. Even as the state of Kerala has declared that internet to be a basic right and approved a fiber optic network project to provide connectivity to every household in the state Kerala. And now, Kashmir entered its 5th month of being in digital void, and the people in the valley, that is in Kashmir Valley, who depend mostly on the internet for their survival, have long been subjected to hardships. And a recent study has found that 47% of India's internet shutdown took place in the disputed Jammu and Kashmir state, where unrest is often followed by curfews and restrictions by the government. And if we see this issue globally, the internet shutdowns are typically used when there is civil unrest and in order to block the flow of information about government actions or to end the communication among the activists and prevent the spread of rumors and fake news. But internet is pretty much a basic human right, even if not legally defined as such. But for most of the parts of the world, without access to the virtual world, that is internet, a very large number of vital human activities will simply stop. And here in this article also, the author gives 2 examples where internet has stopped the working conditions. As I said, internet ban is not only restricted to India, while authoritarian regimes such as China and Iran routinely cut their people off from the World Wide Web. And in fact, of the 196 shutdowns in 25 countries documented by Access Now in 2018, as many as 134 were in India, followed by Pakistan, just 12. And Asia and Africa also saw the most shutdowns in 2018. And the total number of internet shutdowns increased from 75 in 2016 to 106 in 2017 and to 196 in 2018 according to the survey by Access Now. And we know on August 4th, 2019, the Indian government went about dramatically altering the relationship with the Jammu and Kashmir by making changes in the Article 370 of the Constitution. Before, Article 370 had provided the state elements of administrative autonomy for all the practical purposes, but now it is severely injured. And then there was a complete curfew placed on the movement in the region, but now certain limited channels of communication have been opened up, but still access to the internet remains elusive. And by many accounts, this might well be one of the longest bans imposed on the internet by a democratic government. Further, author mentions the Anuradha Basin and Gulab Nabi Azad's challenges in the Supreme Court of India, and a 3-judge bench which has heard the oral arguments in this case will give the judgments in coming weeks. And the ultimate ruling by this 3-judge bench on the issues including internet ban over the area will have the bearing on the endurance of the constitution promises of liberty and equality. And Ms. Basin has put the argument that the blockout of the internet impinges on our right to freedom of expression. And in her case, the force of the communication ban was almost instantly felt because she was working as an editor in the Kashmir Times newspaper, and this newspaper was in regular circulation for more than 5 decades but went altogether unpublished in between August 6 and October 10 due to the blockage of the internet over the Kashmir Valley. And she says that denial of the access to the web poses a direct threat on the liberties of the press also, along with a fundamental right, including right to freedom of expression. Further, the author says impact of the internet ban on the freedom of expression is only the tip of the iceberg. And Mr. Azad, the leader of the opposition in the Rajya Sabha, highlights that there are also other results because of the internet ban, and that includes a denial of the right to healthcare caused by people's inability and to access government schemes such as Ayushman Bharat, and a withdrawal of the education to students at different levels, and it is occasioned by seemingly interminable closure of the institutions. And other than this, the shutdown has inflicted startling economic damage also. Conservative estimations released by the Kashmir Chamber of Commerce and Industry shows that the state economy has suffered a loss of not less than rupees 15,000 crore since the deletion of the Article 370 from August 4th. Moving further, talking about the government stance, the author says the government makes two primary arguments. First one is that it claims that there is no obligation on it to disclose the orders through which the restrictions have been imposed on the state, and the second reason it gives is that national security. And by the reasonable examination, we know that order is imposed on the internet ban under the temporary suspension of telecom services, public emergency or public safety rules 2017. And this law requires executive, among other things, to provide a reasoned order when it directs the withdrawal of the internet. Then author says that if there is such direction exists in reality, then the government must issue the further instructions, and in a democracy, orders are made to be published. Then, in recognition of the internet as a human right, in 2016, United Nations passed a non-binding resolution condemning countries that disrupt the internet access to its citizens. Then, coming to our Indian Constitution, the promise of free speech is preserved in the Article 19, 1A of the Constitution. And the Supreme Court has also held that this guarantee contains both an inherent and instrumental value. And it is inherent because it is important to respect every individual's right to personal autonomy and dignity, and it is instrumental because consequence of promoting free speech, that is, better dialogue stimulates a more informed polity. Then in 1961, in Sakal Papers case, the Supreme Court has held that no policy of the state should regulate the circulation of a newspaper, as any such program will directly impinge on the right to freedom of expression. Today, publishing a newspaper without access to the internet is almost an impossible task. Hence, much like the restrictions that were struck down in Sakal Papers, a blanket ban which is placed on the internet will also violate the guarantee of free speech. And not only it hurts the fundamental rights, but also it will hurt the employment and economy of the Kashmir Valley. So, what can be the way forward for internet ban in the Kashmir Valley over the unrest? Firstly, the state can use content blocking techniques to block access to all the social media platforms. To make this, that is before banning the social media platforms, blocking access to VPN, that is virtual private networks, is necessary. And in a nutshell, the authorities would need a team of technical experts and professionals to identify VPN apps and can help in blocking the access to them. And then verification of social media accounts is also another measure that could be adopted. In this case, people would be directed to link their social media accounts with valid proofs of IDs like Aadhaar and voter IDs. And this would help the administration in identifying the users spreading the violence, and also users who would be subjected to legal action. And this measure would also help in stopping the spread of the fake news across the various online platforms. Then, state can also use the bandwidth throttling option. In this case, telecom operators or internet service providers are asked to lower the quality of the internet or the internet speed, and this strategy will help in preventing the uploading of the videos on online platforms because of the low internet speed. And all these strategies can prevent the administration Kashmir from needing to enforce any internet shutdown in future. And then increased internet access even under these restrictions will provide new opportunities to local people. So now the time has come for the government to think about implementing any of these measures or strategies in order to ensure full internet access throughout the state. Then moving on to the next editorial, this is in the page number 12, it reads net loss. Disruption of connectivity should be resorted to only in the face of specific threats. This is the subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of the design and implementation. This editorial section is also related to the internet ban, and in this article the author says that internet ban over the protest against the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 is unsophisticated and deeply damaging to social life and the economy. Meghalaya, Tripura, Arunachal Pradesh were entirely cut off from the internet, and parts of Assam, West Bengal, Karnataka and Uttar Pradesh were deprived of the internet access. And then author says such interventions such as banning the internet have won for India a place at the end of the table among intolerant countries that routinely shut down the internet to block criticism of the government. And another dark spot is that Jammu and Kashmir is still under the internet ban. Coming to the data of the shutdowns, out of 196 shutdowns in 25 countries documented by Access Now report in 2018, as many as 134 were in India. And in the previous article also, I have discussed about the number of internet bans. That is, internet shutdown has increased from 75 in 2016 to 106 in 2017 and then 196 in 2018. And then coming to the fate of connectivity, it is decided by the officers empowered by temporary suspension of telecom services, Public Emergency or Public Safety Rules 2017 under the Indian Telegraph Act 1885 or Section 144 of the Code of Criminal Procedure. And then author says a disruption is an extreme measure and it should be imposed only for a specific reason and specific threat. And previously, government had banned internet over several lynchings over the rumors on child lifters on social media. And then on the internet ban, author says it has little to do with the rumors and it is clearly aimed at suppressing the protesters. Then, as I said before, internet ban poses the damages on social life and the economy. And a disrupted internet is a blow to the digital financial transaction across several states, to e-governance initiatives and economic productivity also. And it affects education and skill building, as the Kerala High Court affirmed in an order holding access to the internet is a fundamental right that could not be denied arbitrarily. And the court pointed out that the apprehension of a gadget being misused is not a legitimate ground for denial of service and the government should act on specific complaints. And then finally, the author concludes this article saying both the reform and the progress vitally need the internet. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 12, we have a premature denouncement of the Citizenship Act. Its critics must appreciate the need to bring closure to the consequence of religious theocracy in India's neighborhood. This is a subheading and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions for development in various sectors and issues arising out of the design and implementation. Previously, in the Hindu newspaper, there was the editorial which was published on 18th December 2019. It reads, "Time to defend India's secularism." And that article had arguments against the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, and today's newspaper article, that is a premature denouncement of the Citizenship Act, gives the counter arguments to the previously published editorial. Initially supporting the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, the author says Citizenship Amendment Bill was introduced in 2019 after the long deliberations by the Joint Select Committee of the Member of the Parliament. And then a report of the committee was adopted by the majority of the members of the parliament and placed on the table of the both houses in 2016. But Lok Sabha elections intervened and so the bill had to be reintroduced in December 2019 session. The author says the need for this bill arose partly because the Islamic nations like Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan have brutally persecuted non-Muslim minorities since 1947. And because of this religious persecution, this has led to a sharp fall in proportion of the non-Muslim minorities in the total population of Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan. And those who have survived the religious persecution, that is forcible conversion, escaped and illegally entered India. And they were Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Christian and Parsis. And they were categorized as illegal migrants. And as of December 31st, 2014, they totally numbered about 31,313. Hindus 25,447, Sikhs 5,807, Buddhists 2, Christians 55 and Parsis 2. And those belonging to two religions were not in the list, that is Muslims and Jews. And a small number of Jews migrated to Israel and no Muslims or Jews came to India over the last 70 years on the grounds of religious persecution. Then the author says, in the past 70 years also, many political leaders have expressed the concerns over the illegal migrants. And they were subjected to poverty because they don't have the citizenship or passports or other cards to avail the benefit of proper employment and a proper living condition. So, for these reasons, the first authority to express the concerns over the illegal migrants was Working Committee of the United Congress Party. And the committee adopted a resolution on November 25, 1947, urging citizenship and full protection to all those non-Muslims from Pakistan who have come over to India or may do so to save their life and honor. And affirmation for this also came from Dr. Manmohan Singh, the then leader of the opposition in Rajya Sabha. And in 2013, he had said that after the partition of a country, minorities in countries like Bangladesh have faced persecution. And it is our moral obligation that if circumstances force people, these unfortunate people, to seek refuge in our country. And back then, he had said that our approach for granting citizenship to these unfortunate persons should be more liberal. And the same kind of view was also expressed in writing in 2014 to Prime Minister Narendra Modi by the then Chief Minister of Assam, Tarun Gogoi. And then in the previously published article on 18 December 2019, author had put up the arguments against Citizenship Amendment Act 2019, and those were: it ultraviolates the Constitution of India, it is divisive, discriminatory, and it violates human rights. And then it aims to, that is, Citizenship Amendment Act aims to establish a Hindu nation. But in this article, the author says the first reason is baseless. Then he says Article 5 to 10 have nothing to do with the Citizenship Amendment Act. Then Article 11 in fact empowers the Parliament to regulate the right of citizenship by law. Further, author says Article 11 in fact empowers the Parliament to bring such an amendment to Citizenship Act 1955. Then, talking about the violation of the Article 14, here author says we have to look at the letter of the Article 14 and also the judgments given by the Supreme Court of India on the interpretation of the Article 14. Talking on Article 14, guaranteeing equality before law, the author says a Brahmin claiming reservation in education institutions and schools on a par with scheduled castes because of Article 14 guaranteeing equality before law. Previously, the Supreme Court has already held that equality before law is only for those equally placed. And here, on religious persecutions, the Muslims of Pakistan, etc. are not similarly placed. And then here we have to notice that a foreigner can become an Indian citizen by 5 ways under Citizenship Act 1955, namely by birth, descent, registration, naturalization, and incorporation of territory. And the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 adds a country-specific exception, that is from Afghanistan, Bangladesh, and Pakistan to the naturalization section. However, any Muslim can become an Indian citizen under the naturalization section. This Amendment Act doesn't restrict any Muslim person becoming an Indian citizen under naturalization. And then moving to the final point, that is establishing a Hindu nation, the author says that present Indian constitution cannot be amended beyond the basic structure of the constitution as defined by the Supreme Court of India. Then talking on Hindutva, the author says it is already incorporated in the large measures in the present constitution. For example, the use of Sanskrit vocabulary under Article 351 and official promotion of the Devanagari script and its modified numerals under Article 343, and the ban of cow slaughter under Article 48, and the Uniform Civil Code under Article 44. And then Hinduism is the only religion that formally accepts that all religions lead to God, that is Sarva Dharma Samabhava. Hence, Hindutva is not contradictory to secularism. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 12, we have Vidar Amaravati. There was a time for the idea for 3 capitals in Andhra Pradesh, but it is long past. This is the subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is governance and government policies and intervention. Recently, the Chief Minister of Andhra Pradesh hinted that state could have 3 capitals for decentralized development on the lines of once in the Republic of South Africa. The state can have 3 capitals, that is legislative, executive, and judicial. Visakhapatnam, which has already got the infrastructure, can be considered for being the executive capital without much investment. And then Amaravati can be retained as the legislative capital. And then Kurnool can be considered as the judicial capital. And the decision will be taken after discussing the details, logistic, and reports by reputed consultancy firms. And then Republic of South Africa has also got 3 capitals. Pretoria, that is the administrative capital, Cape Town is the legislative capital, and Bloemfontein is the judicial capital. Then Constitutional Court is located in Johannesburg. The idea of 3 capitals in Andhra Pradesh seems to stem from the reasoning that a distribution of executive, legislative, and judicial governance across Visakhapatnam, Amaravati, and Kurnool would allow for a decentralized development of the state. And if you see the location choices, they are in the upper, central, and lower geographical regions. And such an arrangement follows the recommendation of the expert committee which was appointed by the Home Affairs Ministry in 2014 to study the alternatives for a new capital. And then the idea of 3 capitals has also got the support from government appointed G.N. Rao committee, and it has recommended that the assembly's location to be retained at Amaravati with the secretariat at Visakhapatnam and High Court to be moved at Kurnool. And despite this expert committee's recommendation, the Andhra Pradesh government led by Telugu Desam party had decided to build a grand capital in Amaravati. And for this reason, it had acquired large parcels of land from farmers. And then Secretariat and Legislative Assembly were shifted to Amaravati in 2016 and High Court started to function in 2019. And now Amaravati, which still requires significant development, has become a functioning state capital. And now the farmers who had agreed to give up the fertile land for the expansion of the capital as part of a land pooling scheme have protested against the decision of state having three capitals. Further, if the government limits Amaravati to hosting only the assembly, it must take into account the concerns of the affected farmers. And that said, the fact that considerable work has been already completed in Amaravati to utilize the fledgling city as a functioning capital must be taken into account before embarking on the decentralization idea. Then author says this decentralization idea would have best served before the works began in Amaravati. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 11 we have Army to sign deal for 6 Apache attack helicopters, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS3, that is security issues and various security forces and agencies and their mandate. The Defence Acquisition Council in August 2017, which was chaired by then Defence Minister Arun Jaitley, had approved the purchase of 6 Apache attack helicopters from the US for the Indian Army, and it is estimated to cost around $930 million, and it is likely to be signed early next year. In the backdrop of this article, it is very important to cover some basics about Defence Acquisition Council. The Defence Acquisition Council is established to counter corruption and speed up the decision-making process in military procurement. The Government of India in 2001 decided to set up an integrated Defence Acquisition Council, and then it is headed by Defence Minister, and the DAC is responsible to give policy guidelines to acquisitions based on long-term procurement plans. Then it also clears all acquisitions, which includes both imported and those produced indigenously or under a foreign license. Then objective of the Defence Acquisition Council is to ensure expeditious procurement of the approved requirements of the armed forces in terms of capabilities sought and within the time limits, and by optimally utilizing the allocated budgetary resources. Then moving on to the composition. As I said, Defence Minister is the chairman of the Defence Acquisition Council, and then member includes Minister of State for Defence, Chief of Army Staff, Chief of Naval Staff, Chief of Air Staff, and then Defence Secretary, Secretary of Defence Research and Development, and Secretary Defence Production, and then Chief of Integrated Staff Committees, headquartered Integrated Defence Staff, then Director General, and Staff Member Secretary as Deputy Chief of Integrated Defence. And the function includes approving of 15-year long-term integrated perspective plan for defense forces, and then accepting the proposals which are the necessity to acquisition, categorization of the acquisition proposals relating to buy and make, and then to sort issues relating to single vendor clearance, then taking the decisions regarding offset provisions in respect of acquisition proposals of above rupees 300 crores, and then taking decisions regarding transfer of technology under buy and make category of acquisition proposals and field trial evaluation. Then moving on to the next article, in the page number 14 we have common documents enough to prove citizenship, Ministry of Home Affairs, and those without papers may be allowed to produce witnesses. This is a subheading, and this topic can be linked to the syllabus GS2, that is government policies and interventions. Ministry of Home Affairs has said that guidelines for the National Register of Citizens yet to be drafted, but for the citizenship of India, it can be proved by giving any document relating to date of birth or place of birth or both. And then Ministry has clarified that Indian citizens do not have to prove any ancestry by presenting documents such as identity card, birth certificate of parents or grandparents dating back to pre-1971 situation. And according to the Assam Accord 1985, March 24, 1971 was the cutoff date for Assam's National Register of Citizens, but it is not related to countrywide citizens register. According to the Citizenship Act, anyone born on or after 26 January 1950 but before 1st July of 1987 was an Indian citizen by birth. And the people who are born in between these years are naturalized citizens by now and would be having some kind of document as a proof of their birth year. And then for the illiterate citizens who may not have any documents, and at these situations the authorities may allow them to produce witnesses or local proofs supported by the members of the community. And then Ministry has said that each application that is received online under the Citizenship Amendment Act 2019 would be checked and inquired by officials, and then the final decision to grant the citizenship rests with the center. These are the important things one has to cover from this article. Then moving on to the yesterday's prelims practice question. First question reads, which of the following statements about section 144 of Criminal Procedure Code are correct? First statement reads, it authorizes the executive magistrate of any state or territory to issue an order to prohibit the assembly of 4 or more people in an area. Yes, this is the correct statement. There is a prohibition on the assembly of 4 or more people. Then the second statement reads, as per the order, there shall be no movement of public and, however, educational institutions shall remain open. In this statement, only second half of the statement is wrong. That is, educational institution shall remain closed during the imposition of section 144. And then the third statement reads, section 144 is imposed in urgent cases of nuisance or apprehended danger. Yes, this is the correct statement. So, out of these three given statements, only second statement is wrong. So, the correct answer is B, 1 and 3 only. Then the second question reads, in the context of Indian economy, open market operations refers to purchase and sale of government securities by the RBI. So, the correct answer is C. Yesterday we have discussed the main objective of the open market operation is to regulate the money supply in the economy. That is by sale and purchase of government securities and treasury bills by Reserve Bank of India or the central bank of the country. And we know when the RBI wants to increase the money supply in the economy, it purchases the government securities from the market and then it sells the government securities when it wants to suck out the liquidity from the system. Then moving on to the third question, consider the following statements about impeachment of President of the United States. The United States Constitution prescribes a specific process to impeach the President. This is a wrong statement because the US Constitution doesn't prescribe a specific process and neither does federal law. It leaves only the Congress to set its own rules. So the given statement is wrong. And the second statement reads, Trump is only the third US president to be impeached. Yes, this is the correct statement. And then a president who has been impeached by the House has to step down as president. This is a wrong statement again because a president who has been impeached by the House can still serve as a president and it's up to the Senate to hold the decision. So the given third statement is wrong. So the correct answer is only to B. Then today's prelims practice questions. First question is based on Defense Acquisition Council. And the second question with reference to provision for citizenship. Then the third question is based on Article 370 of the Constitution. Comment your answers in the comment box. I'll review it and tomorrow we shall discuss the answer for these three questions. Thank you for watching.